Hey, Magic fans, welcome back. This is your captain speaking here on Captain Clyde's MTG News with the spoiler edition for more Double Master spoilers. And man, the hype just doesn't stop. It just keeps getting good, or gooder, or goodest, like the goodest boy. Anyway, we're going to go over the spoilers. We've only got about another 50 cards to be spoiled in the set. So I can't wait to see what they are. We're starting to wind down, though, to the commons and uncommons. But even then, we're still seeing some pretty spicy meatballs. So, don't forget to subscribe. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers, and I would really appreciate it. So, without further ado, trade tables and seat backs are full upright position. We got a good chunk to go through, so let's run it. Starting with Inet the Dreamer. Red, blue, green, 3 colorless for the 6/6 flyer. When it deals combat damage to a player, you may play a blue and 2. If you do, exile top card of your library face down. You may look at that card as long as it remains exiled. You may play that card without paying its mana cost for as long as Intet remains on the battlefield. Not too bad of a reprint. Doesn't see a whole lot of play. Sees a little bit of play in Commander. Still a pretty cool rare, but might be in the dollar bin. Next, we have the League Guild Mage from Ravnica. A lot of Ravnica and Dragon Mage, not Dragon Mage, I'm sorry, Ravnica and Dragons, Constantar Kier style cards in here. Red, blue, 2 colorless. It's a blue and 3 to draw a card. Red and X, copy target instant sorcery spell with mana value X to choose new targets. Not a bad uncommon, but doesn't see a whole lot of play. Look at this sexy thing. Smothering Tide reprint. This is a $40 card, and this sexy version here is probably going to be 100, especially if it's foil. I am going to lie. But we got a reprint, so a white and 3, all you Commander players knows what this does. But for those of you who don't play Commander, it's an enchantment. Whenever an opponent draws a card, they must pay, or they may pay 2 colorless. If they don't, you get to create a treasure token. It's like ramp for free. This is right up there with like Mystic Remora and Rhystic Study and so forth. Uh, Came out as a real cheap card, got real hot in Commander real fast. Great reprint and a great rare. Monastery Mentor reprint from Cons. A white and 2 for a 2/2 with prowess. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you get a 1/1 white monk creature token. This is around $20 or so. This might drive the price down to 10 or 15, but I don't know. The price of these packs, it may stay 20. All I know is this is a Legacy All-Star and sometimes even played in Modern. So, sweet reprint, nice to have. Elisha of the Infinite, white, red, blue, and 2 for a 3/3. Prowess, you may look at the top card of your library in time. You may cast non-creature spells on top of your library. If you cast a spell this way, you may cast it as though it had flash. Another dragon card, or cons card, excuse me. Not too bad. Gonna definitely be a bulk rare though. Next, Jeskai Ascendancy. So white, red, and blue. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, creatures you control get +1/+1 and untap those creatures. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you may also draw a card, and if you do, you discard a card. This is part of mini combo decks, not just inside Commander, but also inside of Modern and some other formats. It looks like we've already seen one Ascendancy. This makes 2. I am going to go on a limb and say before we look at the rest of the spoilers that we're going to have all of the Ascendancies in this set. Um, Unfortunately, they don't go for very much, so wah wah, dollar bin. Abbot of Carol Keep. So red and 1 for a 2/1 with prowess. When it comes into play, exile top card of your library. Till the end of turn, you may play that card. This was a real hot card in mono red back in the day when it first came out in um, the core set. I'm having a brain fart. What it is before they went back to numbers, but anyway. This was pretty pricey for a little while. Even made a little debut in Modern, but here lately doesn't see a whole lot of play. Still a sweet card though. Would be great in draft, but only a dollar rare. Same here, Tarlin, a Sky Summoner, nothing special. 2 blue and 2 for a 2/2. Whenever you cast instant or sorcery spell, create a 2/2 blue Drake creature with flying. Again, we're looking at the dollar bin. Doesn't see a whole lot of action or play. So, starting to wind down on the sweet rares. But wait, there's Revelark. So, white 4 for a 4/3. Flying, whenever Revelark leaves the battlefield, return up to 2 target creature cards with power 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. You can evoke it as well for a white and 5. It has lost some of its luster, however. It is still a good $3 to $5 card. Unfortunately, this might make it a dollar bin card just because of reprint, but hey, it's going to be fun in draft. Mentor of the Meek, white and 2. Whenever you cast a creature power 2 or less, you may pay 1 to draw a card. We've already seen this get spoiled in the early days, so just a good uncommon. Lightning Helix reprint. White and red, deal 3, gain 3 life. One of these sweet cards in Modern. It sees lots of play for the most part. And sideboarded in many formats, so this is going to be a great reprint. Next we have Prophetic Bolt. This is nothing special from Ravnica. Red, blue, and 3. Deals 4 damage. Look at top 4 cards in your library. Put one of those in your hand. The rest in the bottom. I mean, it'd be good in draft, I guess. But that's about the only thing you're going to see that happen with. And the Jeskai Charm also got reprinted. So that means we'll probably get to see all the charms as well. White, red, and blue. Choose one. Put target creature on top of its owner library. Deal 4 damage to opponent or planeswalker. And creatures you control get +1/+1 and lifelink to their turn. Decent uncommon for draft, but didn't see a whole lot of play except for standard. Young Peasy back. Yo Pyro. Young Pyromancer. Red and 1 for 2/1. Whenever you cast an instant sorcery spell, you get a 1/1 red elemental creature token. This used to have some spice to it as a high-priced uncommon, but it's been reprinted several times now, and it's just not holding up. But in draft, it's going to be sweet. Is it Charm reprint? Blue and red. Choose one. Counter target non-creature spell unless the controller pays 2. Is it Charm deals 2 damage to target creature or draw 2, discard 2. Great multi-purpose card. Unfortunately, it's in the common slot and probably won't do a whole lot except for draft. Next, we have Spell Pierce reprint. 1 blue. Counter target non-creature spell unless its controller pays 2. You know it. You love it. It's big in Legacy, Vintage, and Modern just because of how cheap it is as a counter spell. So, there you have it. Mana Leak, its older brother, basically. A blue and 2 to counter any spell unless you pay 3. This is a great card. Doesn't see a lot of action anymore, but it does see a lot of play in Modern and some other formats just because mana's tight. Won't be worth a whole lot, but it'll be great for a draft and as a common. Jeskai Elder, a blue and 1 for a 1/2 with Prowess. Whenever it deals combat damage, you may draw a card. If you do, you have to discard. This comes back from the Cons era again. Decent common. Militia Bugler is back. A white and 2 for a 2/3 with Vigi. When it enters the battlefield, look at the top 4 cards. You may reveal a creature with power 2 or less from among them. Put it in your hand. The rest on the bottom in a random order. Decent common. Good for draft. Next, Blood Forged Battle Axe. So for 1 colorless, you get a 2/0, a +2/+0, and whenever a creature deals combat damage to a player, you get to make a copy of the axe. It equips for 2. It's going to be crazy in draft when you got about 12 of these on the table and your creature is just nuts. But doesn't see much play past that. Definitely a dollar bin rare. Aether Mage's Touch. I don't remember what this one was in, but a blue, white, and 2. Instant. Reveal top 4 cards of your library. Put a creature card from among them on the battlefield. It gains at the beginning of your end step. Return this creature to the owner's hands. Then put the rest on the bottom in a random order. Very interesting card. Doesn't give it haste or anything. So if you're looking for something with enter the battlefield triggers, this might be right up your alley. But probably won't see play outside of draft at best. Twin Flame is back from Theros, red and 1 for sorcery. You can strive, which means you can play an extra red and 2 to do it more than once and copy it, or with extra targets. You choose a number of creatures that you control. For each of them, you create a token copy of that creature that has haste. Exile the tokens at the end of turn. Yeah, so you can copy 1 creature for 2, 2 creatures for 5, so forth and so on. Might be okay in draft, but didn't see a whole lot of play and probably still won't because you have to own the creature. Oh, look at that. Joda, the Archmage Eternal is back. White, red, blue, and 1 for a 4/3 flyer. That basically says if you pay 1 of every mana, you can play any card in your hand. So yeah, was a popular commander for a while. Hasn't been real high as a price lately. So this may take it down to the dollar bin. Next, Lien and Arbiter is back. White and 1 for a 2/2. Players can't search your libraries. Any player must pay 2 colorless for a player to ignore this effect. This is a popular card in Death and Taxes. Does not see a whole lot of commander play, but it is prevalent in Modern, Legacy, and even some Vintage formats. So nice reprint here, about $5. Livewire Lash, 2 colorless equipment. When the equipped creature gets +2/+0 and has, whenever this creature becomes target spell or ability, this creature deals 2 damage to any target. It equips for 2. I mean, decent equipment as an uncommon. If that's your jam, might be okay in draft. Privileged Position, so hybrid mana of green and white, 3 of those and 2 colorless. So for 5 mana, you can lay an enchantment that gives other permanents you control hexproof. Definitely bulk bin. Doesn't see a lot of play. Emil the Blessed. So we got a reprint from Jumpstart in this set. 2 white and 2 for a 4/4 unicorn. For 3, exile another target creature you control, then return to the battlefield under its owner's control. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may pay a white or green. If you do, put a +1/+1 counter on it. If it's a unicorn, put 2 +1/+1 counters on it instead. This is a sweet card from Jumpstart. It was up in the $20-$30 range. This is definitely a nice mythic to have. Next, we have Ulast the Hate Seed. So green, red, and 2 Hellion Hydra. When it enters the battlefield with +X counters on it equal to each red creature you control and +1/+1 for each green creature you control. For 1 colorless, you can remove a +1/+1 counter to do 1 damage to target creature or create a 1/1 green Sapperling. So here's a reprint for those Sapperling decks out there. Not a real popular card. I don't think it's worth a whole lot. Probably dollar bin rare unless somebody does something cool with it. We have Earl the Mist Stalker, white, green, red, and 2. 5 mana for a 5/5, hexproof. Mistark is +2/+2 for each aura attached to it. Decent reprint. I don't know if it's worth anything. I haven't really seen this card played very much. I'd say maybe a $5 mythic, hopefully. Look at this sexiness. Culligan's Command, and it's beautiful. Red, black, and 1. Choose 2. Return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Target player discards a card. Destroy target artifact or deal 2 damage to any target. This is a hot modern card and even played in Legacy, Vintage, and some sideboards just for that. Just because of the utility. So this is a sweet reprint. Easily going to be a $10 rare, I think, especially if it's this picture because this is sexy. Alright, next we have Hellkite Overlord. Green, 2, red, black, and 4. So for a mere 8 mana, you can get an 8/8 Flying Trample Haste. So you get a Flampolst. For 1 red, the Hellkite gets +1/+0 till the end of turn. For a black-green, you can regenerate it. I don't think it's a very good commander. It's awful expensive. It doesn't do a whole lot else, but it is a cool dragon and a mythic. But it might be a cheap one, unfortunately. Marcesta the Black Rose. Look at this sexy beast. Red, black, blue, and 1. Human Wizard 3/3 has Dethrone, which is whenever this creature attacks a player with the most life or tied for it, you get to put a +1/+1 counter on it. Other creatures you control have Dethrone, and whenever a creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it dies, return that card to the battlefield under your control at the beginning of the next end step. That is disgusting. This is a very popular commander and a very nice reprint. This is easily going to be a $10 to $20 rare, and it's going to be a pretty sweet pull for anybody who gets one. Goblin Banneret, good old Ravnica. Red for a 1/1 with Mentor. It gets +2/+0 to the end of turn. Mentor is if it attacks and a creature it attacks with is smaller than it, you put a +1/+1 counter on the attacking creature that has lesser power. It was decent during standard, best by a long time it's ever seen play. Malaya's Aria, red, green, and white. I don't remember this one. Enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. If you control a creature with power 5 or greater, then you gain 10 life. If you control a creature with power 10 or greater, then you win the game. If you control a creature with power 20 or greater, oh wait, I'm sorry. If you have a creature that has power 5 or greater, you gain 10 life. If it has 10 or greater, hang on, +1/+1 counter each creature control. Okay, you control. Put +1/+1 counter on each creature you control if you control a creature with a 5 or greater. Okay, so here's how it is. At the beginning of your endkeep, you put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. If, when you do that, you control a creature with power 5 or greater. Okay, so you have to have creature 5 or greater to get +1/+1. Then you gain 10 life if you control a creature power 10 or greater. Then you win the game if you control a creature with power 20 or greater. Jesus, card is confusing. Good God. I'm going to say it's not worth anything in dollar bin because it confused the heck out of me and I don't want to play it. So, Next, we have a Assassin's Trophy reprint from Ravnica. That's pretty sweet. Black, green, instant, destroy target permanent and opponent controls. They can search our library for a basic land card, put on the battlefield, tap, and shuffle. One of the premier removal cards out of Ravnica and has taken the spotlight in many a modern decks, even over Abrupt Decay to some point, because it will kill anything. But you do give them a land. It's basically a path to exile for any permanent. It's pretty good. Next we have Sultani Soothsayer. Anyway. Blue, green, black, and 2 for Naga Shaman. When it enters the battlefield, look at the top 4 cards of your library, put one of them into your hand, the rest into your graveyard. Um, again, another Dragons card that works with Sidisi, but unless they reprint the whip in this format, I don't think anybody's going to be playing this, and it doesn't see much action outside of draft, so. Ooh, God, that's scary. Extract from Darkness. So black, blue, and 3. Each player mills 2 cards, then you put a creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. So pretty sweet. 5 mana, mill everybody, and you pick the best. So I like it, although it doesn't see play outside of draft probably. Next we have Breakthrough. So for blue and X, you get to draw 4 cards. Then you get to choose X cards from your hand and discard the rest. Basically saying you need to spend 5 mana to draw 4 cards and not lose anything. And that's if your hand's empty. Still a decent draw card spell. If you have extra lands you don't mind getting rid of. So may see some draft play, but that's probably about it. Next, Ob Nixilis Unshackled. This has been on the list several times, so this is really going to go down in price. It's almost to $1 as it is. 2 black and 4 for a 4/4 flying trample. Whenever an opponent searches their library, that player sacrifices a creature or loses 10 life. When another creature dies, put +1/+1 counter on Ob Nixilis Unshackled. Yeah, definitely dollar bin rare. Don't see a whole lot of action. Coiling Oracle. This is going to be sweet for the draft format. Blue and a green for a 1/1 elf snake druid, because that's apparently a thing. When Coiling Oracle enters the battlefield, you get to reveal the top card of your library. If it's a land, it goes on the battlefield. Untapped, mind you. Otherwise, you just get to draw it. I mean, what more do you want in life? It's, yeah, I mean, it's a draw card with legs. Next we have Graveblade Marauder. So for a black and 2, you get a 1/4 Death Touch. Whenever a Marauder deals damage to a player, that player loses life equal to the number of creature cards in your graveyard. Very interesting mechanic. If you have no creatures in your graveyard, they're going to let you hit them with this. If you get 3 or 4 creatures in your graveyard, this could become a problem real quick. Probably only going to see draft play, though. All right, Biogenic Upgrade. More Ravnica reprints. This is 2 green and 4 for a sorcery. Distribute 3 +1/+1 counters among 1, 2, or 3 target creatures. Then double the number of +1/+1 counters on each of those creatures. This card is awful and probably will only see draft play if it's lucky. So, moving on. Yes, Smothering Tide. Sorry, I had to put it in twice. That picture's just too sweet, guys. Could not help myself. Ugh. So, with that said, I'm going to Smothering Tide away. That's it for the prints and spoilers for today. As always, don't forget, guys, like, subscribe, put some comments down below. It's going to feed that YouTube algorithm. Trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. Really appreciate all your help. And if you've done everything you can and still want to help support the channel, links in the description to the eBay store where all the box opening cards go up for sale, plus Patreon where you can get cool swag, discounts on the eBay store for your membership, and special deals on boxes when they come out, and some of my older boxes to save you money. Also, there's a link to the email in there if you want to reach out and say hi. Thing I'd like to point out, if you want to join the Patreon, I highly suggest it, especially if you like to buy about 1 box a month, because I can definitely hook you up with that. So, without further ado, don't forget, everybody, until next time, be kind. And I hope to see you across from the game table. Because I tell you what, I'm going to go play this set like crazy. I'm going to draft the dog shit out of this. God, listen.